we've talked about this. You need to understand that I need Attack on Titan to pull this off. I need it. I cannot have another one of these.
Facts.
Okay,
Facts.
I cannot have that much potential go down a toilet like again.
The deck is stacked against you, and the evidence points to a trend that is unfavorable to you.
Listen. I will not accept it. I will reject that reality. I want you to understand that this is not just anime or the success of this story at stake. This is my perception of reality is at stake.
Soだ。お前がガビを救い出すんだ。この真っ暗な俺たちの未来から。
Jeez, dude.
Oh, dang.
Oh.
What?
Wait, what?
どうしたガビ?
Who is that?
Can you just step back? I just need to see that.
Yeah.
I was not prepared for that.
No, that was very sudden. Blink and you miss it.
Is this new?
Oh my god.
What the fuck?
どうしたガビ?
The feels,
going
man.
very well.
That was that was actually better than the first episode. There was so much character acting. The amount of despair that they show were able to portray in this dystopian society was great. That's all I have to say.
They are really focusing on the little things, and it shows, and it makes the whole experience feel very polished. And what I'm going to point to something very small, but it says a lot of good things, and it promises well for the rest of the season. In the scene where Gabby's telling her story, right? They animated the other characters as well. Most of the time, that would be a still shot of every character except Gabby doing her shit, and then her dad would do his shit and be animated, and she'd be animated with him. But no, it was all three of them were reacting to what was happening, and they were expressive, and they were in motion, which is a lot more than you can say for most of those types of scenes.
Her dad put his weight behind himself when he patted her on the back and everything. It was no doubt.
And that gets me very, very excited for what we're going to see the rest of the time.
Yeah, I'd also like to comment along those same lines about how particularly Reiner and Zeke, how they look kind of worse for wear these days.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they do.
And I mean, it's there's some very subtle details that go into that. But it's enough that you can definitely tell they've aged. And I think that's a bit tricky to do, especially some shows.
Reiner, I don't know about you, Rob. I think Reiner's more. I was telling these guys, I think Reiner's more gaunt.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They look like they're dying. They look like they're in the process of going from very healthy to dying, which is apparently what happens after, is it 13 years as a Titan?
Yeah, 13.
Yeah, it looks like that's actually being expressed.
I mean, and it shows up in the manga. I would say probably not as clearly, but it definitely shows up, and it's made a point of. And when you are looking at it, you can tell. He's older and he's experiencing the wear and tear of decay, or his life is ending, and you can see it, and it's pretty disconcerting, in a way, just because we've seen Reiner at many different ages at this point, and your boy is not looking good at all.
Yeah, the guy was built like a horse originally, and now now you can see his cheekbones just.
Alex, as far as the character acting goes, obviously it's a lot of different people's work coming together, but you can sense the underlying nostalgia of Reiner when he talks.
Yeah, the voice.
It comes through, and you're he's saying these memories they're evidence of them
bad things
being lesser, but in the way they've decided to like animate his eyes, and the voice acting performance was on point with this as well. He's looking back and he's like trying not to smile almost.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's like forcibly suppressing the good feelings of those memories.
That scene was very, very interesting. I don't know. What was it? The interpretation of you gentlemen that. So it was kind of like a climactic scene. Right, he gives this information like, oh yeah, they made my life heck, right? But the examples he gave, besides the dramatic music, and as you're saying, Johnny, almost like he's holding back a nostalgic feel. And then there's the reaction from his mother. Is it the interpretation? This is what I got. I want to know if you guys feel the same. That his mother and family sense that there is this nostalgic feel, and that what he was describing was in fact not the heck that he is trying to make it sound, and that they are concerned, or rather alarmed, perhaps even frightened, over the fact that this is his feelings towards these perceived devils.
I got this. I want to field this one for you, Rob. So the read I got, right, because I think you're right in questioning her reaction to it, is that I think it's most clearly expressed back to us as viewers, like what her read, or rather how she felt about it, when she approaches Gabby afterwards and says what she says, right? Because I think in her mind, she is aware that Reiner is different, right? And I believe she's actually his aunt, not his mom, but I don't think that really matters.
Sure, his family, right.
Yeah, it's his family regardless. But I believe that she is aware that something is different about Reiner, right? And she hears him saying these things, almost remarking fondly, and these past experiences, right? Because obviously people refer to their friends as all kinds of stuff as like a joke or teasing or whatever. And he formed relationships with these people. But what I think is important about that is that she is aware. So it's twofold, right? The first thing that happens is the window, right? Like the shutters open or whatever. It's to bring to mind that someone could be listening to you, the audience, the viewer. Yeah. So that's the first thing that I think is ultimately important, and then it's reinforced later in the episode when they show them having that meeting in their war room or whatever, right? But the second thing that's important, and it's extremely important, is that what he's saying could be counterproductive to the indoctrination of Gabby, right? She needs to believe that these people are bad, right? Like, you saw her, like, questioning it immediately. I thought all of them were bad, right? And the mom is like, no, this can't, like, I can't let my daughter believe these people aren't bad for a multitude of reasons, clearly, right? But I think most importantly, she's not going to be able to become a warrior, or she's not going to be able to be selected if she doesn't believe that the Eldians on Paradise are evil. Right. If she's like, no, I want to support Eldians, there's no way in hell you give the power to turn into a Titan at will to someone who wants to like help Eldians or something like that, or who wants someone who sympathizes with them. Right. And I think that is ultimately like a big, big thing.
I think that expression that she had after he was reminiscing like that was not terror at the things that he claims to have experienced, but terror that he's saying these things out loud. Because this is like a strong, essentially at this point, this is a family with strong military tradition, right? And they are perceived right now as fully in the line that Marley wants the Eldians to be within, right? So if you draw doubt to that puts the risk of the entire, I think, like, it's not the best word for it necessarily, but the entire bloodline, right? They might kill everyone related to these people, or worse, weaponize them.
That's exactly what Reiner said to Falco, right?
Yeah.
Like, you saying this kind of stuff will get they'll weaponize your entire family.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I also want to back up that statement with even more evidence. Is that so? I was going to bring up the fact that, like, also regarding this thing, I think I really liked how they took the camera outside the window and they had the shadow of the rain coming down on Reiner as he was talking about that. I think there's a lot of interesting, symbolism there. But as he finishes his little soliloquy, his mom, to your point, Johnny, his mom, the first thing she does is turn around and close the blinds.
Exactly.
It's a good scene, and then they absolutely jar you. They make that cut to the guy jumping off a roof, and I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I don't even know what that was about.
I don't know. Is that just supposed to be? At least this is my feeling of the right now. Is just some rando that they mentioned just about the scene previous, if not maybe a scene or two before.
The trauma.
Yeah, the emotional trauma people.
I think that's what it's supposed to be.
They answer that question in the scene right after this one. As they're walking to go to Zeke's room, like in the background, as just like a cutaway in the background, they're like, oh man, he was a soldier. And there was a crowd gathered looking at something.
Yeah,
so, a soldier killed himself. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. I was confused by that at first as well, but I think it punctuates that scene we were talking about.
And I think what's important to note is that it was definitely an Eldian soldier.
Yeah.
Because they were walking through the Eldian internment area or the Eldian ghetto or whatever.
This was non-content related. The pacing of this is sublime. It's very good.
Quick.
Actually, it's good.
It's not just quick, but it's appropriate. I don't think there's too fast and there's too slow, and I think this is like right where it needs to be.
So there's just been some sweet ass like camera rotations, right? Which are not normal things they do in hand drawn art, right? Like a video. Like anime doesn't typically do a lot of rotation. Like when Reiner sat up out of the bed and the camera like rotated to show whatchamadude, I was like, bro.
That was nice.
I was
pretty cool.
By that, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I will say I didn't like the cut that they did to get there, where they were on this side of Reiner and then they cut to his other side just so they could do that, because it's not good. It confuses the audience when a character's on the left side and then they switch to the right side. But that's a filmography thing or whatever. But regardless, the freaking the camera rotation and like some of the just general stuff they're doing with the camera work is feeling kind of Promised Neverland-esque, if you will. You know what I mean?
Like
and I'm feeling it.
I'm all about it.
Yeah,
I'm with it,
dude. It's definitely different, but I love it so far. I think it's creative. Yeah.
Honestly, this last season feels like it's gonna feel way different, but in a good way.
Yeah.
I mean, it's already feeling really different, I think.
Yeah.
Just the general I don't know. I think the general atmosphere, of course, it started at the end of last season of introducing this, 1920s-esque society.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now that they have this whole, this blown-out war scene with strange juxtaposition of seeing these titans, right, that you've seen in these past seasons of, being this mindless, these walking zombies, but in particular, them being countered by this, society using swords and steam power and stuff like this. Now with, a 1920s World War I, guns with, uniforms and everything like that. I don't know.
I have an answer for you.
It was a bit strange. Yeah.
It feels strange because you're watching Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan has been this story for 3 seasons, 59 episodes, right? It was a story about these people in the walls with swords fighting giants, right? It was about Eren and Mikasa and Armin inside the walls fighting giants. And now it feels so different because they're telling a different story entirely.
Yeah.
Right? Now Reiner is the main character. It's about his internal conflict with his time spent essentially in a different war with people he's supposed to be subverting, and how he's coming to terms with the impact he's had on essentially innocent people.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I think that's a big reason why this tone shift feels jarring but appropriate. It's really cool.
Yeah, it is cool. It is.
At least for me, I think that the direction and the voice acting and everything has been so good, like with making me feel like this is dystopian. Like I feel like dude, when this rando just jumped off the roof after that, dude, I was like, what in the world, dude? And we haven't even gotten one scene with Aaron, Mikasa, Levi,
Armin.
It's not their story
Hanji.
anymore.
Hanji.
That's the cool thing. It's just not their story at this point. That's awesome. I like it. I like where this is going.
Yeah, for sure.
Uh,
So there's another thing that I was wondering to get your guys' take on it. And this is something that you pointed out earlier, Josh.
Oh boy.
This was like the very first scene. And I think it was Falco, who was talking about seeing people flying around with swords.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Well,
That was crazy.
so at this point, we don't have a clear answer for how these memories and visions go between people and go amongst different time periods.
Mhm.
I don't know. Is that maybe confirmation that he will be the inheritor of?
Of the old armor?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Dude,
I straight up
perhaps.
don't know.
Straight up don't know.
So the first time I saw that, I noticed that, and I'm like, oh, he's sharing memories. But like, it didn't really hit me at the time that he didn't have a Titan power yet. That's something we've only seen people with Titan powers experiencing.
Except for Aaron in episode 1, where he wakes up. Yep.
Right. So that's, I guess, more evidence that it's not about the Titan powers specifically. It's about Eldian blood. I don't know. I don't have an answer, but that's what we have to assume is like there's some obviously there's some transcendence of these Titan powers that goes beyond the people who have them.
I mean, I think that much has to be obvious.
Yeah.
What with the stuff with Owl, right?
Mhm.
Like that much we have to be willing to accept, right?
Right.
Because like Owl was like, you gotta save Mikasa and Armin, and he's like, who the fuck are they?
Yeah.
Like,
And the guy goes,
That was a pivotal scene.
I don't know.
I don't know, right? Like,
We're getting into time travel now, right?
Yes.
Well, it's kind of like a
it's been kind of a thing, and then Owl kind of came around, and it became like a solid thing that was happening, or at least it's somewhat in effect. And then now we're getting here, and it's kind of like we just don't understand the workings of it now.
Right. So, are we gonna look back at episode 1 and be like, I can't believe this was foreshadowed there? You know?
I think absolutely yes. I think the answer to that question, without even knowing, is definitely yes.
Right, but how cool is that going to be when it happens? You're going
It's
to
gonna
look
be
at it, you're going to
awesome.
like, oh my god, what?
This is what I was trying to
It's gonna be
say. This
wild.
is Jonathan.
It's gonna be
Jonathan.
wild.
John. Okay, Alex and I would sit down and we would talk about how hype Attack on Titan was and how the first chapter was so genius, and you were like, it's pretty good, but I just wasn't really feeling like what was going on.
Shut up,
And I'm
John.
just Jonathan, listen to me, okay? It's amazing.
Shut up, John. No, it's not amazing yet. It has the potential to be amazing.
No, he right.
I'm right, dude.
You're right.
Many in anime have begun great. They go great. They're awesome for 95%, and then the last 5%, they fucking trip, fall down the stairs, and die.
You know how I feel about that.
Hey, remember Tokyo Ghoul? Remember that?
Shut up. We don't bring up Tokyo Ghoul.
Don't talk about
Bleach.
Tokyo Ghoul.
Hey, how about
Don't
Bleach?
Tokyo Ghoul into this.
Shut
We can
up.
talk about Bleach then. Bleach.
Ugh.
Dude, these hands are ready to eat for everybody, Johnny.
Common area of the Iron Fortress? I could go
Oh,
on.
God, no.
I could go on.
Listen, no. Jonathan, I think we've talked about this. You need to understand that I need Attack on Titan to pull this off. I need it. I cannot have another one of these.
Facts,
Okay, I
facts,
cannot have
facts.
that much potential go
I'm
down a
just saying.
toilet like again.
The deck is stacked against you, and the evidence points to a trend that is unfavorable to you.
Listen, I will not accept it. I will reject that reality. I want you to understand that this is not just anime or the success of this story at stake. This is my perception of reality is at stake right now.
Get out of here. Fucking, no. I won't let you get away with that one.
Oh,
my
man.
god.